A fintech startup created payment software that allows people to send money to friends and family. After a few months of operation, some software developers began requesting SDKs to access payment service. Unfortunately, the startup failed to consider abstraction when the software was being developed. Because of their current implementation, software developers will be forced to implement services that they may never use. Making modifications to the code base may be challenging for the startup because the service is already in production. In reality, software should be created with abstraction in mind. The heart of object-oriented design is abstraction. It frees the client from having to worry about implementation details or functionality. Abstraction is achieved in many OOP languages through abstract classes and interfaces. The interface segregation principle provides guidelines for implementing abstraction in software development. This principle implies that clients should not be forced to implement interfaces that they do not use. Instead of a single large interface, many small interfaces based on groups of methods, each serving a single submodule, are preferred. This way, you can easily expose a specific module to any client who requires access. Here is an example of code from the payment service that violates the interface segregation principle. We have two payment options, a credit card and a bank account. Both payment methods are intended to accept payments from customers. While some software developers insist on only accepting credit card payments, however, another group of developers would like to accept card and bank payments. Unfortunately, an error is thrown if both functions in the iPayment abstract class are not implemented. Let's make two abstract classes, iCard payment and iBank payment. The first class will include a pay with card function that will allow developers to accept card payments. We can now implement them by creating two distinct classes, software dev X and software dev Y. Let's start with the former and use the iCard payment class. The latter will implement both iCard payment and iBank payment. This means we can use the functions of both abstract classes. This new approach will free software developers from having to implement functions that they may not need. Understanding this principle thoroughly will enable you to begin writing software with reusability in mind. If you apply this principle to your next project, you can avoid creating large and complicated modules in your application.